There are those days when you feel like you are the best doctor on the staff, that you couldn't possibly learn anything new. You think you are the master of medicine.
Hey, Janakova, get in here right now.
Today is not one of those days.
I was looking at your documentation for Mrs. Smith and Mr. Payne, and I feel compelled to point out that it's rather spare in terms of the H&P and your working diagnosis. Now, I know you were not an English major in whatever podunk college you attended and somehow graduated from, but could you maybe somehow just find a little bit more detail to put in? Huh?
You know, I try. But sometimes I worry that if I include everything in the H&P, some patients may have problems with their insurance coverage. And what if we miss working up some small thing that was in the physical or history? And in the diagnosis, if I put down my working diagnosis and it's wrong, it looks like I'm not properly working up the patient.
Is this possible? Do my ears deceive me? Could it be? I think it's true. You need my world-famous Documentation 101 class. In this class, you will learn the basics of documentation in just a few short minutes. Don't worry so much about liability. You never know when something in a patient's history may be part of their problem. Studies show treating your patients well and being honest with them when there's a mistake has the greatest impact on whether or not you could be sued in most situations. Furthermore, I hear that most malpractice attorneys are far more interested in what's missing from the record than what they do see in the record.
That makes sense. Of course, there's always a reason not to, but I know I can document better.
I understand. I used to hate documentation, especially E&M coding. I had all those cards. All these cards, lots of cards, too many cards. And I never could get a good system. But I finally figured it out. I just look at my patient.
I see.
Exactly. If my patient is very sick, I know they're going to require a higher level of medical decision making and therefore the documentation to support that. On the other hand, I'm not going to do a complete history and physical on somebody with, gosh, I don't know, a paper cut.
Now, before I can put a Band-Aid on that paper cut, you have to give me your complete medical history. Don't worry, this will take less than an hour.
The challenge is making sure you meet the documentation requirements for the history and physical appropriate to the level of medical decision making. Too little history and physical performed and you just won't get credit for your work. Yes, Dr. Janakova?
How do I get as much credit as possible?
Will you curb the overachievement tendencies just a little bit? That can get you into some trouble. The point is, you shouldn't just copy the same elements for every patient so that they look the same in the medical record for the reviewer. Also, you really shouldn't copy and paste records from a prior visit. That way it looks like you're trying to bill something at a higher level than it should be.
All right. Got it. Anything else?
In time-intensive situations, make sure you separately document time spent counseling the patient, consulting with the family, and coordinating care, because in some cases, you can actually bill for that time. It is all within your power. Document smarter, not harder. Congratulations, Dr. Janakova. I never thought I would utter these words, but you have graduated from my Documentation 101 class.
And then there are those days when you learn an important lesson. You know from that day on, you will be a better doctor, able to care for your patients and meet your administrative obligations. And you're one step closer to being a master of medicine.